Welcome to our Monday, August 15th school board meeting, but before we say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, if we could go ahead and rise, and in memory of Allison Gherkin, grade 2 teacher at Pfeiffer who passed away over this weekend, I'd like for everyone to observe a moment of silence.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you for attending our Monday, August 15th school board meeting. And with that, we will go to our agenda approval, deletions, additions. Dr. Baracco.
Thank you, Mrs. Souza. You do have a revised agenda before you. There are some updates to the personnel recommendation under Mrs. Mucha's Roman numeral 7B1. Also some updates under 7D 1 and 2 under Mrs. Castaneda's section. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mrs. Kelly,
Second.
second by Dr. Malco. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there any correspondence this evening?
Nothing to report on this evening.
Thank you. We'll move right into our liaison committee updates. Mr. Marshall.
Thank you. Nothing to report on personnel interview committee.
Mrs. Kelly.
Redevelopment, nothing right now, but hopefully at our next meeting I might have a little nugget of information. Shareable Parks Department, our splash pad opened. Yay. It was great. Enjoyed by all. Shareable Park still has a lot of things going on the rest of this summer and this fall, so check out their programs. And that's all.
Thank you. Dr. Malco.
Did you say Malco or Medlin?
You.
Malco?
Yes.
You. Lake Central Education Foundation, that DAV walk. I'm sorry, let me start that again. Lake Central Education Foundation Hero Walk is on Saturday, November 5th. At this point in time, we're not sure of the exact time, but I'm sure it will be in the morning. And that at this point in time, the committee is planning for it to be right here on the campus. A reminder that the beginning of that walk was in memory of a former student, Dana Less. But it really was a great time to pull everybody together. So hopefully you'll want to walk with us on that day. Again, that's November 5th. Dyer Parks Department, met with them today, and they are really wanting to complete the project that started 10 years ago by the Nowalczyk family in memory of their son, David. So that seems to be the focus for the Dyer Parks. They are hosting on Saturday, September, I want to give you the right date, 17th. They are hosting a DAV, Disabled American Veteran Walk, at the Central Park in Dyer, which is north on Calumet, across from the Symphony. That's the Central Park. So again, that's on September 17th. I'm not sure how proceeds from that will come towards the Dyer Parks, but they are hosting it there. So I'm sharing it with you because many of us like to get out and walk on a Saturday morning, and it's a good cause because it is all for veteran and military. That's all.
Thank you. Dr. Medlin.
Nothing to report, thanks.
And I have nothing for St. John Redevelopment Commission, but I do have for Dollars for Scholars, a gentleman by Patrick Tortorici. He is hosting a Run for Your Life Living Dyer Zombie Run, and there will be zombies on the course. There is a stroll troll parade at 10 a.m. and then at 2:30 is a 2-mile zombie run, and then you can go to the fire department and tour their open house at 12 o'clock. So lots of things are being planned, and you can go to Dollars for Scholars website, and we do have the QR code that you can scan and get yourself and your family signed up for. All those proceeds will go to graduating seniors in 2023. So with that, we'll move on to our official school board business topics, consent.
Mrs. Susan, I have a question. I see legislative is off of here. for a committee, but I don't see the Bibbage Building Project on here as a liaison. Shouldn't that be on here? Aren't you the
No.
liaison?
I am.
So why would that not be on here?
That project's on hold right now, but
I mean,
so we'll move to our official school board business topics consent agenda. Dr. Veraco.
Thank you again, Mrs. Seuss. Seek board approval for the minutes from our August 1st meetings, as well as approval of the claims, payroll, and extracurricular expenditures you received in your packets last week.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Marshall,
second.
second by Dr. Medlin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. There are no public comments, so we'll move right into our official school board business topics regular agenda. Dr. Veraco.
Our first item is to do a special recognition of trainer Chris Hall. I have Mrs. Novak here this evening to talk to you about Chris and his recognition.
All right, good evening, Dr. Veraco, Lake Central School Board. Chris Hall is the Lake Central High School athletic trainer, and he was chosen by his colleagues, by his peers, as the 2022 Professional Excellence Award of the Indiana Athletic Trainers Association. Chris is here all the time. He can be found at pretty much every athletic event. He goes above and beyond, and he does everything very graciously and always with a smile. So he is well deserving of this award, and it's great to see him recognized by his peers in that association. So we extend our greatest congratulations to Mr. Chris Hall.
Do you think he's probably at an athletic event?
Chances of that are very likely.
Chris kept my son taped up and ready to go through many football seasons, so.
If you ever need to be taped up, you want to see Mr.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My next item is to seek approval to attend the collective bargaining seminar at the Ivy Tech facility in Indianapolis this Friday. We are about ready to head into formal negotiations with our teaching unit. There'll be some information on upcoming board meetings as we follow all those timelines that have been outlined by the IEERB. This kicks it off so that we make sure we know any changes that have come about for the current collective bargaining season. Thank you.
So moved.
We have a motion by Dr. Malcolm,
Second?
second by Ms. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. And my final item this evening is to recap the McKinney-Vento workshop that we held in this very room last Thursday, August 4th, actually a week ago already now. And we did have a really nice turnout. It was nice to have a good turnout from the region because we had some folks from Indianapolis who made a long trip to help us with the program. They were members from the Indiana Department of Education as well as the Indianapolis Consortium that is ahead of the curve on this in terms of dealing with families who've been displaced. And so the key during the morning session was that schools need to remove barriers to enrollment. And that means not expecting people to have their paperwork tight when they are going through a real rough patch. And so if people do not have fixed, regular, and adequate housing, they qualify for being homeless. As I've said in my talking points, the confusion for our folks mainly comes around doubling up, meaning people have a temporary loss of housing, they move in with relatives, and so they are not planning on being there forever. And so they consider it a temporary situation. And many times people don't declare that because they have pride, and we understand that. But there are some opportunities for them to save on lunch costs and have reduced textbook as well if they are willing to share with us where they stand. In the end, we had 133 out of the 159 people who registered attend. They came from 20 different area districts. We not only invited Lake County, and the program was geared for Lake County, but we invited some of the superintendents and their staffs from Porter and LaPorte County as well, because they're part of our District 1 group, and they were on my listserv, so we invited them, and some of those folks showed up, and it was a good day. It's going to be interesting moving forward. Our facilitator, our current fearless leader, is retired in June, and so Dr. Danny Lackey is out of the role, and Debbie Diani from Hammond will take over as facilitator later this month. So I will continue to serve, as I am our district liaison. I will continue to serve on that committee and not only share information with our staff, but also with my superintendent peers through our other organization. We don't see this type of activity as an annual event, but it could be something we do every 3 or 4 years. It had been, since before the pandemic that we had done any kind of extensive training for our staff, so it was timely in that regard. I'd field any questions you have at this time.
So Dr. Baracco, when you mentioned the consortium from Indianapolis, do you know who that is? You mentioned IU and then...
Well, Warren Central is, like Merrillville is our hub for Northwest Indiana, and Warren Central is their hub. And the fellow who served as our MC is James Taylor. He's a Gary native, and he has a lot of experience in this area. And as I shared with Ryan and some of our principals after the program, the prevalence of people being uprooted in the Indianapolis area are much higher. There are a lot more rental properties there, so a lot more people get displaced as they don't pay rents, and so they deal with it a lot more frequently. And many of those districts have open borders too, so they're transferring people back and forth, and so their transportation issue is severe. I mean, they're very creative with using retirees to drive, paying parents mileage, using Ubers, all sorts of things to get kids to the school that they feel they need to stay in for stability purposes.
So then if the hub is Warren Central and the hub up here is Maryville, so there's a group of superintendents from up here for the Maryville group, and Warren Central is the group down there by Indy?
Well, they're the only other consortium that we know of that is active, meaning they meet monthly and try to do things to educate the schools in their consortium. And so, because we have talked to those folks before, in fact, when we started, they came up, and it kind of reminds me of when we tried to get Kiwanis going in the region, when people from a different Kiwanis came in and met with us and talked to us how you do this. And so they sort of gave us the idea on how to begin. And so when it came time for us to do this program, we said we should ask them to lend their expertise, which they gratefully did.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Oh, I have a story to tell you. If you remember, I told you the story after I attended the basketball game at Louisiana State, and very few people had masks on. Well, let's talk about registering students for school in Louisiana. It has taken one of those little boys that used to live with me 3 different days to go to register for school. He had all of his paperwork. They would not let him register because the line was too long. So this young man has missed 3 days of school. And I kept saying, no, wait a minute. I even reached out to the principal. You can actually send a child home? He goes, yeah. In Louisiana, if they don't have the paperwork, we don't register them. So I thought that was really interesting in light of what the procedures are in Indiana, which is much more student-friendly.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our Director of Human Resource Personnel. I don't know who's presenting for Mrs. Mucha.
Caught me off guard, but that would be me. So Mrs. Mucha's first item is to seek board approval for the personnel recommendations and the revisions that are at your workstations this evening.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Marshall.
Second.
Second by Ms. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
No, wait, I had a question. On page, or under 2A, 3 and 4, so there's going to be, oh wait, this is different than the one that was in the other packet, right? I thought in the original packet, we were sharing athletic coordinators.
Yeah, one of those people backed out, so Corey Ardellis is going to do it on her own. One of those people backed out,
Okay,
so Corey Ardellis is going to do it on her own.
so now it's one athletic coordinator at Kaler, and now we have Doug DeVries doing traffic duty at the high school. Got it now. Okay, thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. My second item is to seek board approval for the mentor list. The stipend for being a mentor has not changed. However, the number of mentors changes on an annual basis. We still could end up adding people if we have anybody else new come to us during the school year. But as been past practice, we assign mentors to all teachers new to Lake Central, even those who are experienced, because we think there are some things unique to the way we conduct business that it helps for new teachers to have somebody to lean on who's not their principal. It's important to note that we encourage our new teachers to lean on their principal heavily, to lean on their assistant principal, their guidance counselors, people at central office, anybody who can answer their questions. But for some things, when people just want that an official professional friend, if you will, to talk to, this mentor program has worked out quite well for us. And we're very appreciative that the board continues to pay for it.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion by Ms. Kelly, and I will second that. Any discussion?
Hats off to the mentors.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed.
Great program to have.
Yes.
I have
Dr.
a-
Malka, were you going to say something?
Yes, I have a question. Are administrators put with a mentor, like Ryan, does he have a mentor?
He does not have an official mentor, but he is getting supported by central office, yes.
Okay, okay. And I know, Larry, this is a program that you've done for several years, and it's really very unique. A lot of school corporations don't put their money into this, so kudos for doing that. Do you have, and I know we talked before in the past about collecting data, collecting information on the effectiveness of the mentor-mentee program. Do you have anything from last
We
year?
have surveyed teachers. We did not survey last spring, but we have surveyed teachers and the mentors to see ways that we could make things better, and we have adjusted the program from what the original design team came up with. It's interesting that I like to bring up the filming piece, because everyone hated when the state had their mentoring program where you videotape teachers in action, and then you could break down the tape. And I still think that could be very effective if it were done in a non-punitive way by the mentor saying, here's some things that you could think about as you initiate that lesson or as you transition. It does require a lot of work. It angered people when the word got out that all those videotapes went somewhere and never got viewed. And so some people still have that stuck in their craw. But I actually think that was the one part of the old program that really had some merit. Now, I know that a lot of our student teaching programs and, our observational programs through the universities are already doing this. And so it would be repetitive in that way. But the key with our mentor program is when our mentors do observe their protege, that they don't have to be, as I said, punitive, or even, they don't even have to be evaluative other than to offer tips. And that's really what we're after, and I think that we're getting our money's worth, because we have a lot of our newer teachers who are a lot more at ease because they have somebody they can lean on.
Right, so you didn't collect the surveys last year, you said, or probably the year before because of COVID? Okay, so then you would hopefully have data for us at the end of this year, then, if everything goes cool and we...
Well, we really didn't change much after the first couple times that we adjusted it, to be honest. I mean, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out what are the most important things for our new teachers to have supports with, and that's what we continue to do. And kudos to the rest of our staff, because they don't just leave it to the mentor to do all that support. We have people who are in the same grade level team. They might be the next door neighbor. They could be in the department. but don't teach the same subject, but at one time did teach that subject. The important thing is that our schools need to welcome our new people and help them fit in. They need to work at fitting in too, but we need our people to be welcoming so that we recruit these people and we help them be successful so they want to stay. Because as we know with the teacher shortage, people have choices. They can be mobile again. For a while they couldn't, but now they can. So we have to make sure that we're an attractive place for people to work.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Move
No,
to
we already did
approve.
the motion, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Call for a
I'm
vote.
sorry.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, any opposed? Motion passes, thank you.
And Terry's final item this evening is to seek board approval to attend Improving Educational Outcomes Foster Children Workshop in Indianapolis on September 8th. She is going to do it down and back, so she is submitting for mileage. And as always, we always want people when they leave the county to submit a professional leave request so that they are insured while in travel. Because sometimes we have people who don't want to fill out the paperwork because they don't want to be reimbursed the mileage. I think they always should when it's more than a few miles, but nonetheless, she is doing it down and back, so it's mileage only.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Marshall,
Second?
second by Dr. Medlin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, thank you. And we'll move right into our Director of Primary Education, Dr. Bracy.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
There are no field trip or professional leave requests yet, but I am seeking approval for the plans for staff evaluations. Each year, school districts are required to submit an evaluation plan to the state. There are two plans, one for certified and one for administrators. The plans meet all the requirements set forth by the state of Indiana, including performance evaluations, evaluators, observations and feedback, PD plans, and instruction. The plan for certified staff was shared with LCTA and signed by an LCTA discussion rep on Monday, August 4th. So with your approval and signatures from President Suze and Dr. Baracco, I will submit the plans to the state of Indiana's online portal later this week, and it's due to the state by September 16th. And I don't know if you know this, but the page numbers are off because of the way I had to print it, but when I submit it, they'll all be correct.
It was very, very long, wasn't it?
It's
Yes.
very, very long, but that's okay.
That is true.
So this has to be updated periodically, is that why you
Every
were
year.
submitting this?
Yes, every year is due pretty much in September.
Every year,
Yes.
okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion by Mrs. Kelly,
Second?
second by Mr. Marshall. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
That's my cue.
It's a really short presentation, so if you would like to stay up there. Mrs. Gramala and I have been working, we have, I guess, revamped the behavior support team. It's a district-wide team, and it's made up of these people listed here, our educational diagnosticians, social workers, counselors, and occupational therapists, speech pathologists, behavior support, and then Mrs. Gramala. So our first meeting was held back in May, I believe, with the team. And we had talked about some things we need to work on. And one thing we did realize is that we needed to celebrate our paraprofessionals because they sometimes don't receive the recognition they deserve. And they are really hard workers, and we can't do our jobs without them. So on last Wednesday, well, our team we began planning back in May. And then on last Wednesday, we held a training for all of the paraprofessionals in the district. They were all invited, and they were here in this room. And we focused on things like areas of eligibility, connecting with students. We talked about sensory strategies. Everyone had a different area. And so we had the paras come here, and we were so impressed because we had 160 paraprofessionals show up for the training.
Nice,
Mhm. Yes, they weren't even back on the clock yet. Yes, that is so true. And so we just wanted to share some pictures with you all. This is as they were coming in, and Dr. Baracco was greeting them. There was not, in these pictures you can see an empty seat, but as you go on, you'll see there were no empty seats because they were lined up across the wall in the back. It was really awesome, and I think they truly felt celebrated, so I'm glad we were able to do that for them. We poured into them, and we made sure we reiterated how proud of them we are and how we appreciate them and how we cannot do this job without them. So kudos to them for coming in before they were even back on the clock. So it was really a beautiful day. And it was only 2 hours, but it was a full 2 hours. So that was
Good.
Individually, I know I heard from staff members at Piper on the first day of school how much they appreciated it. Terry heard from people, I'm sure you have out in the building, so it was really time well spent.
good. So we wanted to share that with you all.
Good job.
And then I have Mrs. Castaneda. I have her professional leaves. So for Mrs. Castaneda, I am seeking your approval for the field trip request you have received in your packets.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Marshall,
Second?
second by Ms. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I am also seeking your approval for the professional leave request you have received in your packets.
Also moved to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Marshall. I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move right along to our Director of Student Services, Mrs. Gramala.
My first item is to seek your approval for the professional leave request that was included in the packet.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Ms. Kelly,
Second.
second by Dr. Medlin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And then to carry on with our professional development theme, so we had the pairs here on Wednesday. On Monday and Tuesday, we provided CPI training. So CPI is the program we use to de-escalate when behaviors get out of control in the classroom. We have 2 new CPI trainers, and they're also coincidentally the forces behind our behavior team. And they came to me and said, can we please try to do something in the summer? I said, sure, but people don't like to come in the summer, and they proved me wrong. We had 75 staff members who came in to participate in training, which is a huge help to us because then we're not worrying about subs. People aren't out of the classroom. So this particular training, staff members have to participate in every 2 years in order to maintain their certification in it. That's really important so that if a behavior gets out of control, we know that they're using the strategies we want them to use, and then we can support them in addressing the behavior. So we were thrilled with that, and thank you to our CPI trainers who are Marissa Jagadich and Kyle Ellis. They've really done a fantastic job with the program, and we're sort of working on how we're going to make it more specific to each building's needs. So I'm meeting with them tomorrow morning, and we're going to plan how the rest of the year is going to look. So we'll keep you updated on that. And then for my last item, I wanted to give you all some information about Compania Academy. We've made some changes recently, and Dr. Veracco asked me to kind of share this information with you. So you all know Compania Academy is a residential facility within our boundaries. When students go to Compania to live, they then become residents of Lake Central School Corporation, so we are responsible for providing their educational services, and have been since they did away with their own charter school. So it's been, I can't even tell you how many years, as long as I've been around, we've sort of been educating those students. So that has morphed and changed throughout the years. At our height, we've had over 100 students who were residents of Compania, and then we were educating. And that has, in the past, it's been a mixture of students coming to Lake Central, students remaining on campus. The program has changed, and recently their numbers have decreased significantly. So they are currently under 30 students on campus that we are responsible for educating. So right before school started, when I found this out, I got together with Mary Reby, who's our administrator who oversees their programming, and we talked about how we might address that, because we had teachers sitting at Compania with 1 or 2 students in class, and we were short teachers here at the high school and in some of our other buildings, so we needed to make an adjustment. So we have condensed our classes. Previously we had 2 groups of students,
And so we would have a group of students who received their education in the morning and a group who attended in the afternoon. They only receive a half day because part of their programming is therapeutic there, and that's the responsibility of Campania. So we have condensed it to all of the students receiving their education in the morning, and then we have reassigned those staff members to Lake Central buildings in the afternoon. So we had 4 teachers and 2 paraprofessionals there, and then we had a full-time dean of students, and we had a school service provider who was there. And so one of those teachers filled a full-time open position here at Lake Central High School. So we had pulled her out of the building already to come here to Lake Central. Of the other 3, 2 of them will be coming here in the afternoon to teach special education resource classes. Because we're short a teacher here, those class sizes had doubled basically what we'd like them to be. So that will allow our numbers to decrease in those classes so we can support the students better. The other teacher will be going to Pfeiffer Elementary School. We had an unfilled special education teacher position there. So she'll just be hopping across the street to help from about 11:30 on at Pfeiffer. And then our dean and school service provider they used to both be full-time at Campania. They are going to alternate days at Campania now. And so when one of them is at Campania, the other one will be here at the high school, and then they'll flip back and forth. So we do always have a full-time support person at Campania, but then they'll be here when they're not working with students over there. Our paras were also reassigned. So again, Campania in the morning, one will be going to Protzman and one will be helping at TAB. So we felt like that made the best use of our resources, still allows the students at Campania to get what they need. I work with Teresa Jacobs, who's their educational director at Campania, and she and I talk frequently. So she said they're expecting the number to stay where it is through the first 9 weeks, and then we'll revisit and see what adjustments we might need to make in the future.
Becky,
Yes,
great report.
thank you.
You're talking about Campania updating. To get into review for the benefit of everybody, who initiates placement of resident students? And talk about the process a little bit.
Sure. So the majority of students at Campania are placed through either the Department of Corrections or the Department of Children's Services. They do have some students who are placed there. They're parental placements that are paid for through private insurance. And then there have in the past been some students placed there by other school districts. If that school district felt like they couldn't meet a student's need, they might place them residentially at Campania. But the majority are through DCS and Department of Corrections.
Gotcha.
So if a student from another school is placed there, it's still the Lake Central responsibility to provide the education?
Yes.
Does the money follow that student there?
Kind of, sort of.
Okay.
So the sending school district maintains responsibility for the IEP, but then we're reporting that we're educating the student.
Okay. Now, when you say all the students will receive their instruction in the morning, is that like 9 to 12, 8 to 11?
They are going to start their 7:45 to 10:45.
Okay.
And then the teachers will get their lunch and travel time prior to reporting to a Lake Central building. So they'll all be in a Lake Central building by 11:30.
So would this be the primary courses then, the language arts and the math?
Yes. So we have a language arts teacher and we have a math teacher there, and then we also utilize Play-Doh for electives.
Okay.
So the students do have access to Play-Doh to earn additional credits outside.
What does Teresa Jacobs say about the decrease in students? Does she have a?
You know what, I really don't get into that with her. That's a Campania issue. So I've not probed as far as what their reasoning is. I do know that last year they came and met with us and talked about some changes at the state level as far as how they're funding, and there's an initiative at the state level that I apologize, I don't know all the details of, but it's called the Family First Initiative that really prioritizes getting students back to their home versus remaining in a residential facility long-term.
I see.
So I think that's been part of it too.
Uh-huh. When you say the Department of Corrections, are you referencing like the juvenile system
Yes.
that Judge Stefaniak has? Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
And the students come from all over the state, so
Right.
they're not just Lake County students.
Right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you.
Gramala. Move right along to our Director of Facilities, Mr. Ledyard.
Thank you, Mrs. Suze. I have 2 items tonight, just an update on the Grimmer project. At our last board meeting, I indicated we were all done with all the classroom work for the summer we wanted to accomplish, and we had some lighting to continue on. And we did get all the lighting done in the serving area, the food prep area, as well as the dishwashing area that I worked with Debbie and Deanne about, so that's all finished before school started. Now that school's back in session, we will continue to do what we can at like the mechanical rooms as well as the mezzanines. My guys are right there. They're working now, putting lights up in the mezzanines. We'll be doing some infrastructure with some electrical disconnects, electrical panels. We may pour some pads for some equipment, and as equipment comes in, if we can do things over breaks, we'll utilize that time as well. So it's going to be kind of hit and miss from now till next summer, but we hope to get a lot of things done in the back of house, and that continues on right now. And then we'll be hitting it hard again next summer.
Nice.
Any questions on that?
So what are you going to hit hard next summer?
Oh, we have a whole bunch that, right, we don't, all our HVAC equipment's supposed to arrive between spring break and next May.
I got
We
it.
ordered our, I think I mentioned last time, all of our RTUs, which is the rooftop units, we ordered back in May, or in April, and they're not due till in May, 13 months, so, yeah. We can't, I promised, well, Ryan is here, but I promised John, we would not disrupt any instruction, have no disruption of HVAC as far as heating and air throughout the entire school year, so we're kind of playing around the school schedule, and we won't have most of the equipment till spring break. But we can do a lot of stuff, as I said, infrastructure-wise.
Got it. Thank you.
This will be my last update for the summer projects. I'm sure you guys are really happy to hear that. You have the sheet at your stations. Pretty much the whole list is done with the exception of 5 items. 2 of those 5 items I knew from the get-go we wouldn't be because of the whole supply chain issues. That would be the front end of the intercom system at Kaler. It's not supposed to be here till the end of September. He's already got us scheduled to put that in winter break, so we're already scheduled for that. The scoreboard, which I told you on Good Friday, was with the microburst blew down at Kaler. We ordered that at the end of April, and it's not supposed to be here till shipped till September 9th. He did confirm that's still on target last week, so that's confirmed. And then the other 3 items, there's some furniture that Grimmett wanted for some classrooms. There's some stools that's on a cargo ship in the ocean right now, and they're saying mid-October. My data meter, which is just basically for some optimization data for us, it's now pushed back to September 9th. And then our Kaler stage curtains, they told me last week that now is moved back to September 23rd. So other than that, and the only thing that really affects any students or staff is the Kaler scoreboard, and I've told Ken and Tim that, you know, they're gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way for the first couple games. But other than that, it's all complete. Any questions on that? Yeah, it might be the old
I
flipboard.
heard from an inside source that the Bradford Whites were installed with minutes to spare.
I will, that you have a good source on that. My Bradley sinks, again.
Wiping sweat from their brow.
The Bradley sinks came, they actually came last Tuesday, and we had them there Wednesday, and Thursday
And
before
installed.
school, they started at 5:30, and we took the barricades down at 8:30 before they let kids in at 8:30.
There we go.
They were in use, yes, made it at the 11th hour,
Good job.
So, good job.
Yes.
Good job, Bill.
so.
Good job.
So I know, I'm sorry. No, I know, Bill, that you had mentioned the security light that the band is needing was going to happen when the electrician.
That's with the data meter, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
happened with
he's
it.
coming out with it, because that's
All right.
all right, that's in that north boiler room and everything else.
Oh, with the north boiler room,
Yeah,
okay.
that's where that data meter goes, yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move right on to our Director of Business Services, Mr. James.
Thank you, Mrs. Suze. The first item is to seek your approval for the donations that were included in your board packet.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Marshall? Second. Second by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And in your board packet, I just included the timeline for adopting the 2023 budget. Next board meeting, which is the first meeting in September, will be when I give the board our annual budget presentation. We will then have a public hearing on the following meeting on the 19th, and then scheduled to adopt at the single meeting that we have in October. Just a reminder, there's only one meeting in October this year. So mark your calendars, and that's that. And it's not on the agenda, but the board had one point asked about the auction we had in July. And since our last meeting, we've kind of shored up with Mr. Niemeyer. And this year's auction, which was held on July 21st, brought in $3,155. So that's a little bit lower than maybe we average. Maybe we average 5, 6, 7, but there really weren't as many high-value items there this year. So as I mentioned before, I expect it to be lower. So that money goes into our operations fund and then just helps support the expenditures in there. So any questions? All right,
Thank you.
you.
All right, so there are no public comments, so we'll move right along to our board comments and consideration of future agenda items. We'll start with Mr. Marshall.
Thank you. Labor Day's right around the corner. It's coming. We can't stop that, but I wish everybody well, and thank you for the efforts extended to get the start of a great school year. Stay safe.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yep, just welcome back to everybody and hope you all have a great year.
Dr. Malco.
Did you say Malco?
I did.
Sorry. Yes, I have to tell you something. I had some community people reach out to me, and they were absolutely, totally amazed at the experience they had at Bibbage School with registration. And I said, oh, that is so exciting. And not only that, but you know how we need to jumpstart kids and have them pre-experience schools. So these parents were able to have a pre-visit in the hallways and find out where the classroom was and everything, because the teachers were so willing and comfortable in doing that. So, you know, we have those good things going on, and it's important to share those. And I also wanted to, now that Erin is here tonight, I wanted to thank her for that handy dandy card that she put together for our students that includes trafficking and suicide awareness, and there's others on there too, but I just don't remember all of them, but it's quite the handy tool, Erin. Thank you.
Thank you. My administrative assistant was a huge help in that.
It's very nice.
Very nice.
So if a student wanted one of those cards, how would they go about getting those?
It's on their ID.
It's on their ID. Oh, it's on their ID. Thank you.
Yeah, on the back side of their ID, it's all different kinds of hotlines for
On the back side of their ID. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. Dr. Medlin.
No comment, thank you.
My sentiments about starting of school, but I do want to say that I had a staff member reach out to me via email saying that she was extremely pleased with starting on a Thursday and a Friday, and then having the weekend to kind of regroup and come back on Monday, and felt very relaxed and good about starting the school year with starting on a Thursday / I know next year will be Friday.
That was just the luck of the calendar.
So I looked at it and I said, I have to go look at next year's calendar, and we do start on a Friday. So just to those that make those calendars, really good things are coming to that I'm hearing about. So thank you for that. But with
As
that,
long as you're going to talk about calendar, though, I will say that we will start the school year as late as we can, thereby still ending the semester before Christmas for our high school students, especially who challenge themselves with all sorts of college-level curriculum and rigor. So I know it's a sore topic with some people both ways,
sure.
but we do believe it's in the best interests of especially our high school students, to
Sure.
get a true break at Christmas. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to our board calendar of future activities. Dr. Rocco.
Well, I'd encourage everybody to watch the website as you're seeing calendars for all sorts of extracurricular activities pop up there. And I know some people made it out to the football scrimmage even last Friday, so thank you for attending that. Our next meeting is not on a Monday, it is on Tuesday, because our next is scheduled for Labor Day, so it would be Tuesday, September 6th. And we are going to start back rotating between this room and the K-Trap room. When we have a small crowd, such as we have this evening, we may meet in the small room. If we have recognitions and things that require more seating, we'll still be in here. But there are times where meetings with a smaller agenda and no controversial topics and a business meeting of the board, if you will, can take place in there just as well. And we would schedule some of those beginning in September in those meetings if the crowd size is expected to be small.
And Mrs. Souza, I have one other item. I believe that we have our Dyer Town Council Lake Central School Board Liaison in the back row back there, Alicia. So thanks for coming out tonight, Alicia.
All right, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion by Mrs. Kelly, a second by Mr. Marshall. All in favor?
Aye.